Hey guys, welcome to chessrules.com. Today in this next class I'm going to show you a game which was played between Magnus Carlsen and Vishwanathan Anand in Linares tournament 2009. Here white is Carlsen and black is Anand. d4, d5, c4, c6. Now the game started in Slav defense. Knight c3, knight f6, e3, e6, knight f3, knight bd7, queen c2. Now in this variation Carlsen has played a subline which is not that much famous, but he wants to try this on Anand, and so queen c2. The idea of queen c2, white is just delaying one move in view of d into c4. He can capture with bishop into c4 directly. So bishop d6, and here Carlsen played g4. The idea behind this move is once if you capture knight into g4, he can simply play rook g1 and he can capture rook into g7, which was played in the game. Knight into g4, rook g1, queen f6, rook into g4, queen into f3, rook into g7. So this let us analyze this position for some time. Now both the kings cannot castle on the king side. Carlsen just preparing for the long castle. Now immediately this rook on g7 is very good, not allowing black to do anything. So knight f6 was played. Now Anand is now threatening to play more like maybe knight g4 or knight into h2, and later he can convert this knight to f3 maybe after removing his queen. So, and also this pawn on h2 is under attack, so h3 preventing all the threats. Here I think Anand played a mistake by playing queen f5. This move is never played before. Here some games was played, but most of them are not so successful for black. So queen f5 is a mistake in view of after queen into f5. Let's see which was played in the game. E into f5. Now black is having a double isolated pawns, and also now immediately he will capture c into d5 and make this pawn as an isolated pawn. c d5, and even this pawn is also now very weak. If he captures a move like knight into d5, he can even take knight d5, c d5, bishop d2. Now even this position is clearly better for Carlsen. Now there are no knights, so white can simply close this diagonal of this bishop. Now e3 is not that much weakness because there is no knights for black to attack this weakness. This bishop can firmly support e3, and most like bishop d3, king f2 or king e2, rook a g1, and he can attack this f5 pawn. So this position pretty comfortable, and there will be no open files in the c file for black. So here c into d5, c into d5, Anand simply wants to keep pieces such that he can attack something. The most like bishop e6 will cover all the weaknesses, and he thought that Carlsen cannot do much about this position. So here knight b5, bishop b4 check, bishop d2, bishop into d2, king into d2, king e7. Now I simply want to play this bishop to e6 and cover this weaknesses of d5, this weakness of d5, f5 and f7, and also he can exchange this rook by playing rook a g8. But here he missed a move after bishop d3, bishop e6, knight c7. The only good move in this position, I think. Rook a g8 and knight into e6. As we know that we should not exchange a bishop like this in any positions, because this bishop is hardly doing anything. It is just supporting only the pawns, and this bishop don't have really good square. But the problem is here white really don't have much pieces to attack on the weaknesses, so he needs to exchange this bishop, which is defending this d5 and f5 pawn very firmly. So it depends on the position where we need to play. Now this position demands black should not have this bishop, so white simply captured on knight into e6. After knight into e6, king into e6 was forced in view of f into e6 is not there because of this pin. Rook into g8, and here Anand played a slightly dubious move by playing knight into g8. Now the reason why he played knight into g8 is simple. He wants to prevent with knight e7, supporting these two squares, these two pawns on d5 and f5. And other is, if you play a move like rook c7, he can simply close this rook diagonal by playing knight c6, or even king d6 is also good. So to support this pawn on f5 and d5, he needs to free his pieces. So knight g8 was played, king e2, knight e7, king f3. Now Carlsen is just playing for king f4. He wants to move this king to f4 and keep a pressure on this f5. Right now he cannot do it in view of knight g6 check. So rook c8, Anand simply not allowing to give Carlsen the open file. If he allowed, he can simply play a move like, for example, let us see. If rook c1 is allowed, then if you play a move like knight c6, white king simply come to f4. So rook c8. Here please try to pause this position and try to analyze for a few minutes. I hope you can see a best move for white. Okay, now the position is pretty simple, very easy to calculate. Black is having a weakness of these pawns, so white is also having one weakness on h3. Black rook is very good, but there is no entry for this rook. So even this knight can hardly move any squares, because if knight is moved anywhere, king will immediately come to f4. So this rook can come to g8, but it cannot do anything. After rook g7, he can simply defend with rook h8. So there is one weakness. Black can firmly support this weakness. So how can white get any advantage from this weakness? Here he played a very good positional move, a4. The reason why is, in chess game we cannot win with one weakness, so you need to create one other weakness on the queen side. Now a4 is just a prophylactic move waiting for black reply. If he commits anything, he can pin that, or he can even enter by playing rook g1, rook g7 if he moves his knight. Or if you play more like knight c6, he can simply play rook c1 even better, or even king rook c1 and king f4 is advantage. So black really don't have another move, and the main idea of a4 is to play rook a3 and rook b3 attacking the b7. To attack the b7, he needs to push this pawn to a5 even further. After a5 there is no rook c6 and rook b6 either to defend this pawn, so rook c7 maybe. Then he can simply transfer this rook on g1 to rook g7. There are lots of idea behind this a4. So a good waiting prophylactic move. Rook c7. Anand really don't have any choice except to play for a draw in this position. a5, h6, now h4. Here Anand played king f6. We'll get a doubt that why can't we play a move like h5, for example. Let us say make this as a new variation, h5, and now the threatening is knight g6 and knight into h4. Looks very effective, but there is a problem with this move. If you play h5 immediately, this h5 pawn will become a target. Now we will transpose this rook to g1. There is no f6 to prevent rook g5. If you play f6, this rook can simply enter this, and there will be no g6 square for this knight, so f6 is not possible. So if you play knight g6, then you can simply play rook g5 and either of these pawns will go. After knight into h4, he can simply play more like king e2, and after that rook into h5, bishop into f5. So here Anand played king f6, h5, not sorry, after h5 my mouse is really bad. Rook c8, knight c8, king f4, knight d6, rook g1. Now he is simply threatening to play rook g8, rook h8 and rook into h6, so which is very dangerous. And even rook g8, he can play lots of moves like rook a8, rook b8, rook g8. So Anand cannot allow that, and he played rook c8. Now f3, preventing knight e4, king e6. Now black position has become completely passive. There is no way that black can try to win from this position. He's just playing the reply moves for Anand, for Carlsen. Rook g7, rook h8 is forced, or else rook h7, lose the pawn on h6. Now after leaving the rook on c file, he is trying to create one more weakness. Just try to pause this position. This will improve a lot of positional knowledge for you. So okay, fine. Here I think you got the move. Bishop c2, a very good move, creating one more weakness on the other side. Now the idea of bishop c2 is pretty simple. Now this king and knight are tied up, this rook is tied up, so black can simply do nothing. He has to wait for the opponent move. So if he plays a move like bishop b3 and wants to pin this d5 either, and he can move like e4 later using this pin, a very dangerous pin. So rook c8, Anand really don't have any other move. Bishop b3, again you have to go back to support this h6 pawn. And now rook g1. Now please remember this position, black really don't have any move. Now white is immediately threatening a moves like e4. If you move this knight, e4 is possible, so that looks really bad for black. So black cannot move this knight, he cannot move this king. If we move this rook far away, this white rook will enter to g7 and will capture this pawn. So rook c8, rook g7, rook h8, rook g2. Now this was a rook triangulation. Again rook c8, now rook g1. Now black should leave either one of the weakness. Now black to play. In this previous position, this was the same position where white have to play. He played rook g7, as you can see. Now in the same position, now black have to play. So white is doing a good triangulation to lose a move, such that black was forced to leave a weakness. So knight e8 was played. Now he left the e4 valuable of e4 square, and immediately Carlsen tried for win and he played e4. After e4, f into e4 was forced to play. F e4, knight f6, e5. After e5, if we capture moves like knight into h5, king e3 wins, because this knight is trapped on this h5, rook h7, rook h6, and this rook got ample squares to attack this weakness. So after e5, Anand played a good defensive move, knight e4, king e3, b6. I think in my view this b6 is also a mistake, because black now is already having an open file. He doesn't need another open file to do anything. So I didn't really understand why he played b6. If he played b6, a into b, he got an open file on the c file, but what he will do in the a file. So this b6 is totally useless, I think. Instead of b6, he could have tried a move like knight g5, shutting down this rook movement to g7. Or if we play a move now, be like rook f1, now threatening rook f6, he can defend it with knight e4. So he could have tried a better variation by playing knight g5, knight e4 instead of playing a move like b6. Okay, after b6, ab6. Now white now having one more open file. Black already have an open file, but he cannot stop all the three files. So king d3, now is simply taking control of these open files. Knight f2 check, king a2, knight e4, king e3. Here again he could have tried a move like knight g5. That makes Carlsen work much difficult than what he ever played this position. So here I don't know why Anand is forcing the things up, but he played one more mistake by playing f6. He could have easily played knight g5 and defend this position. So f6, rook g6, rook c1, rook into h6, rook h1, bishop c2, rook h3 check. Obviously this check is wrong. Here we could have given a check like rook e1 check. King d3, maybe rook, then rook h1 doesn't really help white to improve his position, and the result in very hard to win this position. So after rook h3 check, king f4, rook h4 check, king f3, knight d2 check, king e2, rook check, king d1, knight c4, rook into f6, king e7, bishop g6 supporting this h5 important pawn, rook d2 check, king c1, rook into d4, b3. b3 is very good because the pawn on e5 anyhow it's a weakness, it will anyhow fall, so is giving this e5 pawn and capturing this b6 important pawn. Knight into e5, rook into b6, rook h4, bishop f5, knight f3. Now here Carlsen found a good winning variation. I hope you can see this winning variation. Just try to pause this position for a while and see this. Okay, here he played h6. Now the idea is to play h7 and rook b8. Simply h7, rook b8 and rook b8 and h8. So knight d4 attacking this bishop, h7, again a good move after knight f5, rook b8. Here now he cannot capture this pawn on h7 because of this rook check, and rook into h7 loses. So knight d4 is just trying to centralize the piece. King b2, king d6, h8 queen, rook into h8, rook into h8. This is of Carlsen, of range of Carlsen. He can simply win this end game. 3-7. I'm just showing the game. Knight b4, king a3, d4, rook h5 check, knight d5, king b2, king c6, king a3, king c5, rook h4, knight b4, rook h8, knight c6, and now rook h5 check, king d6, b4. Now this pawn started to move, and d3, rook h3, knight e5, king b3, d2, king c2, knight c6, rook h4. Here Anand resigned in view of king into d2, and he can support this pawn with the king c3. Okay, this was a very good end game, middle game, and Anand just keep on playing this game very passively. So we learned many things in this game. We should not try to play a game with very passively, and we should try to create two weaknesses to win a game, and many more things, and how to play with this judge bound positions. I hope you enjoy this game. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave comments. See you in the next video. Bye.